Hey, I have your file. How creative is this? This is really cool. I have your file in front of me, and I know you're noticing that there's a big blue thing there. I'll show you what that is. But I want to zoom into her hair and show you that sometimes in channel mask it needs help. See how looks like there's a halo around the hair as it's flowing? That's because when you use the channel mask over here, let me throw that away because I was practicing for a minute. When you use the blue copy, all right, it didn't grab a hold of the hair right at the hair's end. It had a little bit of the background come through. So I'm going to show you that that background is leftover pixels from layer 0. See the brightness that her hair was against? Well, that's some of the brightness that you see that her hair has between the stop sign and her hair. So I want to show you two ways that you can minimize that. The second way you have more control over. All right, I'm going to do it the first way though, and then we'll compare the two, and maybe they're going to be fine. But I want to show you that her body looks too cut out here, especially here on the sweater and here on the sweater. It looks good. It's great what you did, but let's just make it a little bit better. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to show you two ways, okay? So I'm going to turn on my blue background just so you can see the halo that's around the hair. Now, I'm going to take your layer and turn it off, okay? I'm going to duplicate it. Now on the duplicated one, let's call this Refine Edge. And let's use Refine Edge. So how do I do it? Well, I need to make a selection of it, but what I'm going to do is use your blue copy channel to do that. So I'm going to, for the moment, right-hand click and delete the layer mask. I'm sorry, apply the layer mask, okay, to her. Now, that means that she's now against a transparent background, so let me turn her on, okay? So now our job is to see if we can get rid of this halo. So I have to make a selection of her. So I'm going to hold the Command or Control key and click on her or the blue copy channel. It turns it into a selection either way. Now you can see the selection. Okay, cool. Let's go to Select, Select and Mask. Now what's going to happen is in this window, I'm going to be able to refine the hair, and I'm going to put it on plus at about 20 on the slider just to see. Okay, now I'm going to refine the hair. Let's zoom in so you can see what it's doing, and let's click Refine Hair. Now it's actually came inside the hair and it actually refined that edge. Now if I put this on 30, that means it's even going to come more inside the hair. So now let's click Refine Hair again. And now it did a pretty good job. Now I'm going to refine the subject. So let's go over here and refine the subject. And I'm just going to click OK because I canceled the other one. Okay, but it's still on 30 and it still refined the hair. Actually did it. Actually did it. Let me see if I click Refine Hair again and click OK. All right, so we've done a good job on that, and it definitely helped. So what I'm going to do is hit OK and go back to my layer, and I'm going to deselect. Now this is what we had right here. Now let me turn this off. Now keep your eye on it. Let's turn this off and turn this on. Now here's the difference. See how this is what we had and now this is what we have. Okay, so it is, and let me just turn one on. Now keep your eye on that. Okay, and let's turn the other one on. Okay, it's a little bit better. But let me show you an even better way to control this. Okay, Refine Edge is great, but it doesn't really, it's not an artist. Okay, we are. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this again, move it up above there, right-hand click as I did, let me turn her back on, right-hand click and apply that layer mask again. Okay, now I'm going to make a selection of her, but I'm going to add a new layer mask. That's cool because I want to do something. So I am going to make a selection of her again on her image, which I'm Command clicking or Control clicking. Now I want to zoom in. I want to show you what I'm going to do. Watch this. Select, Modify, Contract, and let's contract her by 4 pixels. Okay, by about 4 pixels. Now I am going to select, modify, feather by 2 pixels. Okay, so I always feather half of what I contracted. Good. Now I'm going to save the selection, just so I don't have to do this again. So I'm going to save it. It's going to appear in channels, and I'm just going to call this contract. Good. Now I have it, and I'll save your file. Now, what I want to do is inverse it, because I want to paint on the layer mask to remove what's on the outside of the hair. Right now, if I paint like this, see, I'm removing on the inside of the hair. I don't want to do that, so let me Command Z back. So I'm going to go Command Shift I to inverse. And I'm going to hit Command or Control H to hide the selection. Now watch when I paint. Let me start up here. Let me move this a little bit like this. Okay. And let me move this down, or on my other screen. Okay, so I have more room. Now let me move out. Okay, so I'm painting, look at the size of my brush, with black at 10% flow and all the way soft. Now I get to control, watch, I get to control how much I take off. So now what I'm doing is I'm painting black on the layer mask. Let me bring it back over so you can see it. See how black is showing up on the layer mask? Well, that's removing some of the background, and it's making the hair look more natural. Now look how I'm coming across the top here. Watch this whole section here. This whole section. Look at how I'm just at 10% flow. I'm barely putting any black paint on there, and I'm refining the edge of that hair and softening it. And if I go too far, I just come back with white. But you can see here how it just makes the hair look so much more natural without that halo. So I'm going around the whole hair. Now, I'm going to do it around the body, but I'm going to increase it by a whole bunch. Now, just a minute, I'm just going to continue. I'm being very selective of what I do, okay? Because I want it to look more natural without that halo around there. And, of course, if I take away the blue background now and just show your stop sign background, it looks great. Now, let me show you the difference, just even right now, okay? So I'm going to turn her off. I should have named this contracted. And I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to turn on the first one. So look at how this hair kind of has like a light glow halo to it. When I turn on the top one, look at how it doesn't. And it looks more natural. Now, let's go over to the side of her head and let's fix it. Look at how it looks really harsh. So I'm going to deselect. Now I'm going to work on the same layer mask. So I'm going to make a selection of the contracted one, the one that I made, and I'm going to show you. There's the selection. I'm pointing to it right there. But I'm going to go even further. I'm going to go to Select, Modify, Contract by about 4 more pixels. Okay. Now I'm going to go to Select, Modify, Feather by about 4 pixels. Now I'm going to inverse it. So now I'm painting on the outside. And I'm going to hit Control H. So now, or Command H. Now I'm not going to back off on this too much, but I want you to see when I take the paintbrush and I go around, whoops, I was painting on her image. I need to paint on the mask. I never make a mistake. Yes, I do. So now let me go to this area right here again and look at how it adds a beautiful softness, almost like a reflection glow, which isn't a glow. But see how it's just softening the edge of her hair and making it look more natural? Watch this when it comes around the front. Watch her face. Watch her eyelashes get lighter. Look at how her chin even, her chin. I know the difference between a cheek and a chin. So that was her cheek. But now look at how it's letting all of this have a little bit more softness to it. Now I'll even come down through here and I'll paint a little bit more on here, and it lets me actually soften the hair even further. Now look at how nice that looks. Look at around her head how this has a better feel. Now let me come around this side. Watch. See how this is really sharp here? Well, let's just tone it down and allow for a little bit of diffusion. So it looks like the side of her body is actually in the picture, and it's reflecting a little bit of light that's coming around her edge. Now, I'm going to do something to this selection here, okay, to this mask. Watch. I'm going to right-hand click and for a moment disable it. Now, let's get close. Look at how that looks hard, right? When I right-hand click and enable it, look at how it looks soft. And that's the secret. So, here's your picture with a contracted selection that we added a feather to, inversed it, and painted on a new layer mask. So watch this a couple times. But here is your original. Here is the refined one, which isn't refined. I shouldn't have said that word. It's contracted. So although I like this mask thing here called select and mask, it works and there are good times for it, but I like the method that I used for the contract. And so do a lot of other photographers and artists. So let me know what you think. Thanks.